Well, sometimes it's hard not to get frustrated. Like when you see a well-meaning Christian apologist making arguments that assault the credibility of the Bible, all the while thinking they are defending the Bible. Jeff Durbin could be a fantastic consultant, helping atheist apologists line up some faulty arguments against our faith. In a little more than 1 minute, he lays out a blueprint for how to attack the Bible. If I didn't know anything about Jeff, I wouldn't be able to tell if he was a Christian or an atheist from this clip alone. Let's roll the tape.
So I just say briefly to it that I think we run into very serious problems of interpretation and that flood into the rest of the biblical narrative when we say that it's a poetic narrative and it's not literal creation story.
So I'm confident there's no conflict between early Genesis being figurative and anything in the New Testament, and it is dangerous to argue otherwise. Frankly, I know Jeff means well, but he sounds like an atheist apologist. One could be forgiven for having the impression that Jeff is trying to discredit the Bible if you didn't know better. And he's setting up a trap for himself. Here's how it works. He says that if early Genesis is not literal, then the New Testament doesn't make sense, is not reliable. Well, then someone can establish quite easily that early Genesis is not literally true. Ergo, the New Testament is not reliable. The Bible fails. And what is Jeff going to do then? Will he say that early Genesis is literally true? That the world is 6,000 years old, created in 6 days, and there was a global flood 4,300 years ago? He may indeed say that, but that's game over. You lose. Most educated people know none of that is true. Now, how would an atheist apologist promote this argument that if early Genesis is figurative, then the New Testament is not reliable? Well, they may start by trying to attack the credibility of Jesus. Oh, wait, that's what Jeff does, although again, not on purpose.
I think we should take Jesus' view of the Old Testament. I think that we should have his same view in terms of the history of the Old Testament, what he believed about the Word of God. And when you see Jesus speaking about creation, it's in terms of literal creation.
Jesus is talking about literal creation? Jeff is pulling that out of nowhere. I don't think Jesus ever teaches that early Genesis is literal. I don't think he addresses the genre of early Genesis at all. Of course, Jeff will now bring up Matthew 19.
In Matthew chapter 19, when Jesus gives the distinctions between male and female that come together, become one, he's speaking about the creation account, and that's a literal account for him.
What? That's a literal account for him? Jeff, did you talk to Jesus about this? When did you have this conversation with Jesus, and what did Jesus say to you exactly? This is completely irresponsible. I don't think Jeff realizes the damage he is doing. Now, what was Jesus actually doing in Matthew 19? I think Jesus was simply referring to the Genesis 1 creation account and drawing a lesson from it. We can all refer to a figurative account in order to draw a lesson. I don't think Jesus was affirming the genre of the account as being straight history. And even if I'm wrong, an alternative explanation is that Jesus was accommodating to his audience, using the science of the day, that of direct and quick creation, in order to aid in imparting a theological truth. And there are other possibilities as well that don't put Genesis 1 in conflict with the New Testament. Anyway, Jeff now moves on from Genesis 1 to chapters 2 and 3.
If we say that the creation narrative in Genesis 1 and 2 is poetic and it's not truly literal, then is that true also for Genesis 3? Is it true about the fall? Is it true about our first parents?
Well, yes. Genesis 1 to 11 is a distinct unit. The 11 chapters share the same genre, and it is not modern journalism. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean there was no literal Adam. The second creation account, and Jeff assumes there was just one, by the way, but the second creation account may have been a metaphorical telling of a real relationship between God and two individuals somewhere back in time. I'm not certain whether or not there was a literal Adam in that sense. I currently view Adam as an archetype representing us all, but that doesn't rule out Adam being historical as well. There are a wide range of legitimate views here, and I'm open-minded. As far as the fall goes, there are good discussions going on about how to understand the fall in light of what we know about evolution. Long story short, we don't need a literal Adam and Eve to know that we all sin and that sin had a beginning. If he's going to continue his inadvertent attack on the Bible, he'll now jump right to Romans 5.
And if so, if we say, well, that's also up for grabs, maybe it's not a literal Adam and Eve, well, then we now lost Romans 5.
Yep, he went there. In Romans 5, Paul sets up an analogy between Adam and Jesus. Jeff believes that because the second half of the analogy, Jesus, is literal, that means that the first half of the analogy, Adam, has to be literal as well. I don't see any need for this myself. An analogy can work whether the first part is literal or figurative. I think that Paul uses the creation story as a metaphor that his audience could connect with. I do not think a metaphorical Genesis 2 and 3 is incompatible with Romans 5. So now we'll get to the punchline.
Romans 5, there is a representative Adam and a representative Jesus. So you see, it's absolutely true. If you destroy Genesis, you've destroyed the entire narrative of the Scriptures, and therefore you've destroyed the story of redemption.
Jeff, you are not destroying Genesis by reading it in its proper historical and cultural context. You are respecting it. But anyway, there it is. In about 1 minute, Jeff has made what may look like an attempt to discredit the narrative of the Scriptures. This is not helpful. With friends like these, who needs enemies?